Good evening, Boston Canes. I love it. There's lots of energy in this room. Thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Desiree Rodriguez, and on behalf of the University of Miami Alumni Association, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Meet the CEO, featuring Lila Snyder, alumna, and Chief Executive Officer for Bose Corporation. For those who may not be familiar with this program, Meet the CEO showcases alumni leaders and highlights the immense talent of our Canes network. Launched in 2019, each event features an impactful business leader who shares insights on how the University of Miami has impacted their trajectory. From thought leaders in human resources to entertainment and hospitality, we've covered a wide range of businesses across the country through this program. Today's event gives us the opportunity to highlight a new industry and feature our first female CEO on International Women's Day. Yes. So in Boston and the surrounding areas, we have more than 3,200 alumni, yes, 3,200 alumni from the University of Miami. Of those, more than 54% are women. So to the women here tonight, and those of you who support women's achievement, we celebrate you. If this is your first event with the University of Miami in Boston, I'd like to introduce you to the volunteer leaders who make this all happen. So I'd like to take a moment. Our Boston Canes leadership, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you. This is a really strong group of leaders, so please make sure to meet them, connect with them, share contact information, and a special thank you to Zoeb, who has served as the president of various Canes communities throughout the country, and to Emma, who is stepping into the president role in June. So thank you, both of you. Now, before we dive into the program this evening, there's one more important item of business that I know we need to cover. With the gracious donation from Lila and the Bose Corporation team, we have some incredible prizes for you this evening, and those will be announced at the end of the program, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you have your tickets handy, and thank you, because all of the proceeds from this evening are benefiting the Boston Canes Scholarship Fund, and that helps support freshman students with a financial need from this area. So thank you very much for supporting that cause. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to our featured guest this evening. Lila Snyder is CEO of Bose Corporation and serves on its board of directors. She oversees all aspects of Bose consumer electronics, automotive, professional systems, and related businesses. Prior to joining Bose in 2020, she was Executive Vice President and President, Commerce Services at Pitney Bowes. In this role, she was responsible for the company's technology-enabled e-commerce and logistics businesses, helping to transform the company and accounting for nearly $1.5 billion in annual revenue during her tenure. Before that, she was a partner at McKinsey & Company, where for over 15 years, she led their Stamford office and focused on serving clients in technology, media, and communication sectors. As if that were not enough, Lila's also a member of the board of directors for Pult Group, Inc., one of America's large home building companies, and she sits on the Alumni Association Board of Directors at the University of Miami. She also participates in the MIT Corporation Visiting Committee for the Department of Mechanical Engineering. She has an SM and a PhD in mechanical engineering from MIT, no small feat, and a B.S. degree from mechanical engineering at the University of Miami. In addition, we're delighted that Lila will be joined by fellow Cane Alex DiPrato, alumnus and director of media relations at Regan Communications. With more than 2 decades of experience in newsrooms across the country, Alex is known for his storytelling skills, his ability to sharpen his clients' messages for television, social media, radio, and print. Most recently, you may recall seeing Alex on WHDH Channel 7 in Boston, where he was a reporter and anchor covering the 2020 presidential election. Prior to that, he was a reporter and anchor at WSVN 7, Channel 7 in Miami, Florida. While at WSVN, he reported live from Havana, Cuba during President Obama's historic trip to that country. He also spent several years at WPRI Channel 12 in Providence and at WTXL Channel 27 in Tallahassee, Florida. He is also a graduate of the University of Miami, where he studied broadcast journalism and political science. So if I may ask you to please join me in welcoming Lila and Alex to the stage.
It's a very comfy chair.
You're right. Thank you for joining us. I don't think I've been around this many canes since it was 90 degrees in January, walking to the rat. It's great to see everybody, and thank you again for doing this. We went through some questions, I think, on a Zoom last week, so we'll just get right into it. How did you go from a classroom at the University of Miami to the corner office of Bose?
Yeah, we could spend all day on that. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I agree with Alex. It's awesome to be around a group of Miami alumni. It's such a special place for me, and really excited to just reconnect with folks who have had similar experiences. So great to see you all, and thank you for coming. The story from Miami to here, certainly not a straight line. I think that's probably true of almost everyone. If you think about, if I think about my 17-year-old self arriving on campus in Miami and what I thought my career was going to be like, I would have never in a million years suggested this is where I would end up sitting. But there are some themes as it sort of goes through. So I'll take you through it chronologically. You heard a bit of it when Desiree did the introduction. So I was an engineer at Miami. We'll talk more about my time at Miami, I think, a little bit later. And when I was finishing, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I grew up in the Midwest, in the middle of sort of the automotive industry, and that was the spirit of mechanical engineering, right? That's what I knew, that's what I saw around me. But when I was finishing at Miami, I wasn't quite sure exactly what kind of engineer I really wanted to be. And I figured maybe a little bit more school would help me figure it out. So I ended up applying to MIT and was very fortunate to get in to MIT. And I went to MIT to get a master's degree. I stayed at MIT almost by accident to get a PhD, which is a story for another day. But it was a great opportunity for me to really understand both what I was good at and what I enjoyed doing. And I realized that while I loved engineering for a bunch of reasons, I did not really love the career options that a PhD could get you, and that was a really dumb time to figure that out, actually. I had friends who had been graduating, and I watched the jobs they got, and they loved them, and I thought, that really sounds horrible. And what I realized was I am not really cut out for being a research engineer. And so I thought I wanted to be part of technology. So, what I discovered at MIT was I love technology, obviously, and what I really loved was problem solving. And it really didn't matter what problem I was solving as long as I was working on something that was difficult and thorny, and I was doing it with a group of people that I enjoyed being with. That was really what I wanted to do. And so I thought it would be fun to join a company, but I kind of wanted to manage engineers and not be an engineer. And so I thought maybe I needed to go to business school. My parents were not into that. At the time, they thought I was already overeducated. I had been at it for quite a long time. And I found my way to McKinsey, which was strange at the time. McKinsey had started a program just a few years actually before I joined, where they were sort of tapped out in business schools and they were looking for talent in new places. And so they came to a few schools around the country looking for PhD students who wanted to make the jump into a business career. And the theory of the case is those are probably smart people, and maybe we can teach them about business, and we'll see how this experiment works out. So I was part of that experiment at McKinsey, and I ended up staying there a very long time in any terms, but certainly in McKinsey terms. I stayed for 15 years because it was really great problem solving with really great people. And I just kept getting the opportunity to work with different companies on new problems and with really amazing people, both at my clients and within the firm. And so I stayed for a long time. But ultimately, over time, realized that at some point I wanted to go get a real job, was the way I talked about it at the time, where I was actually accountable for something. And I wasn't just giving advice, but I actually had to step up and own it. And I got a great opportunity to do that at Pitney Bowes. So I left McKinsey to join a transformation that was happening, really just starting at Pitney Bowes. Pitney Bowes is a 100-year-old company. I was just under 100 years when I joined it. And there was a need to sort of reinvent and find an area of growth. And so I ended up spending most of my time there building a growth business, which was fun. Again, more hard problem solving with really amazing people. And then I got lucky enough to get asked to join Bose as the CEO. So I didn't, it's only been a few years where I really thought, oh, being a CEO might be a fun thing to do. It wasn't one of those things that I dreamed about as a child, but I love it.
And here you are.
Yeah.
What did you learn at the University of Miami that benefits you today?
So this is such an interesting question. I thought about it a fair bit, and there are so many things, right? When you're a college student, you're learning everything, right? You're sort of discovering who you are as a person and trying to figure out actually what you like and not what your friends like, but actually who you are as an individual. And so I think it's just such a formative time. So I'll give you a couple of examples, and then if you want to ask me for more.
Okay.
So I always tell people, no matter what you want to do in life, if you major in engineering, so I tell my kids and my kids' friends and anyone else who will listen to me, if you major in engineering, it gives you this amazing foundation of problem solving that you can then go do anything you want. And it certainly has been my experience. And so the first thing I definitely learned at Miami was how to be a good problem solver, right? Engineering is, for those, there are engineers in the room. Some of our Bose engineers are here, which is very exciting. And it just gives you such a foundation of the world's not perfect. You don't always have all the information, but you still have to figure it out. And so I think the first thing I learned was problem solving, right? Like, how do you break down a problem? How do you structure it? How do you think about it? How do you assume things that you don't quite know and try to put all of that together and reason it out? So problem solving for sure. I learned a ton at Miami. I met my husband at Miami. So that's pretty formative, right? So I don't know if that was something I learned or something I did. I don't know, but it seems important to mention. So that was great and has turned out great. Makes it much easier on Saturdays and Tuesdays when you want to watch basketball or a football game. It makes it a whole lot easier that we're kind of in this together.
Figure out the right channel.
Yeah,
right?
We're in it together, and we both want to watch it. We're both into it. So that's been good. The other thing, which is a funny one, probably, is I was actually a cheerleader at the University of Miami, which is not a secret fact, but certainly not one that I talk about all of the time. And so I spent 4 years as a cheerleader at Miami, and it was in the era of, I was in the Dennis Erickson era. A few of us were talking about this before, like when you say your graduation year, you talk about who was the coach and what was the situation. So I was in the Dennis Erickson 1991 championship era at the U, and had all sorts of amazing experiences traveling around and bowl games and being on the sidelines and whatever. And so I remember, like, when I first started saying this, people were always surprised, and I learned so much from that experience that I use every single day, right? I was a teenager, and I learned how to stand in front of 100,000 people. P.S., none of them were probably looking at me, but you still feel like when you're standing out there that, there's like a spotlight. Are on you. Yeah, and I really learned how to be confident, or at least look confident when maybe you're not, how to speak in front of a group, how to stand in front of a group, how to hold yourself in front. And it's a silly thing, but it actually is so formative. You need to practice that stuff. And I had an opportunity every Saturday to practice that on the sidelines. And then, of course, we did a lot of community work, and we went to schools, and we spoke to kids, and all of that we met with alumni, and we went to these, breakfasts and alumni events, and it just gave me this great experience of getting out into the real world and having the confidence to have a conversation with real adults and stand in front of a room. And so that ended up actually being a lot of what I learned at Miami too.
I always feel bad for some of the newer students that they didn't get to experience the Orange Bowl.
Yes,
Right?
I agree.
You got to track up
really
to
had to have that
Broward now,
experience.
right? They play at the Dolphin
Yeah.
Stadium, yeah? So the Orange Bowl and getting on the Metro Mover was like a key part of the weekend, right?
And don't forget the Miami Arena that we also went to.
Jamie's here in the audience, and we spent a lot of time at the Orange Bowl. How do you get more people into your field? This is, when we think of engineers, you don't think of women, a lot of women in that field. How do you get more people into that?
So I think that there are a lot of factors, right? But certainly the fact that technology is all around us now helps, right? I just think, our kids are growing up in a different age where they are touching and feeling technology all the time. And I think there is a natural affiliation with it that maybe we didn't have. So when I was growing up, my dad is awesome. My dad can fix anything. And I don't have any brothers, I have a sister. And so Dad needed an assistant. And so I learned how to take everything apart and put it back together and replace the brakes on the car and fix the washing machine. And I grew up in a mechanical, touch and feel household, right? We learned how to build things at my house, and we learned how to take things apart and fix them and put them back together. And that gave me, and my sister's actually a mechanical engineer too. And that gave us the confidence to say, this isn't scary. We understand this, right? We can do this. And I think that that's the most important thing, right? If you're exposed to technology and you have a curiosity about it, there's no natural affinity that men are better at this stuff than women. I think it's just what you get exposed to. And we happen to have parents who exposed us to all of those things and encouraged us to do it. And so, for me, it's just encouraging more girls and young women that it's awesome to be the smartest person in your math class. That is an amazing thing, and you have to embrace that, right? And I was lucky that I had parents who supported that and teachers, and I just think we need to spend more time praising our girls and young women for those skills and capabilities. They naturally have them, but we have to help foster the curiosity for them.
When you think of Bose, and I think a lot of us think of Bose as speakers, because that's just, at least me, that's what I see on the shelves. What is the most interesting product at Bose to you? And what are some of the biggest challenges that your company faces?
Yeah, so Bose is a consumer audio company. We love technology and we love music and entertainment. And the great thing about being at Bose is you can sort of marry those two things, put those things together. And so we're a company that cares about bringing your favorite artist, your favorite musician, your favorite band, your favorite movie experience to you in a way that is magical. And we spend an incredible amount of time and energy on the most minute details that make that possible. And that's really fun, right? We focus on consumer audio in your home. So it could be the sound bar that accompanies your TV or the speakers that you sort of put in one room or another. So in the home, in the car. A lot of people forget about this, but when you buy a car, you often opt for a premium audio system. That was actually invented by Bose 40 years ago. So if you go back in time before 40 years ago, for those of us who remember, you would buy a car and then you would go to the car stereo store, and you would buy all that stuff, and then you would retrofit your car with the cassette deck and the speakers, right?
Yeah.
So 40 years ago, Cadillac and Bose collaborated for the first time to put a premium audio system in the car. So raise your hand if you have, in the last 20 years, gone to the car stereo store and retrofitted your car with an audio system. Oh, there's one. There's always one. I appreciate that. So that is a big part of our business, the automotive business. So you'll find Bose premium audio systems in many, many vehicles around the world, which is exciting. And then the third place that you'll find Bose audio is what we call on the go. So wearable products, headphones primarily, but some others as well. And essentially we think about trying to bring great audio. Music is now a soundtrack for our life, right? We can have music follow us through our day in a way that we couldn't before. And our products really follow you through that entire journey.
What's your favorite Bose product? And everybody wants to know what's next. What are you working on next?
I'll answer the first one and not the second one. So favorite product is hard. Because I love many of them. I drove here in my car, which has an amazing Bose audio system. I'm a big fan of my Quiet Comfort earbuds too, which are the truly wireless in-ear earbuds that I wear all the time, and the noise canceling is amazing. And they are literally my savior on every plane flight I'm on. But so I like and use many of the products. But the one that I'll talk about is, it's our little wireless speaker called the SoundLink Flex. And it's about that big, and it sounds amazing. And one of the reasons I love it is it's part of my Bose story, right? The fun thing about my job is everybody I meet, anywhere I go around the world, and they say, where do you work? And I tell them, I immediately get their Bose story. Oh my gosh.
Right.
My first Bose product, I wear these, they pull them out of their bag, they tell stories. So my Bose product story started when I was here in Boston at MIT in graduate school, and my husband and I saved a lot of money, because it wasn't cheap, to buy a Bose Wave radio. So raise your hand if you had a Bose Wave radio. You have to be of a certain age to have had a Bose Wave radio. And so we had this, and we loved it so much that every time we would go on a vacation or a weekend away or whatever, we would put the Bose Wave radio in our luggage. It was not a portable product. It had to be plugged in. It was very heavy. It was not meant to be carried in your luggage. And we would carry it around with us. And I'm not kidding. We have not been on a vacation since 1996 without a Bose portable speaker in our luggage. And so the reason I love the Flex is because it's much easier to portable around in my luggage than any of the other predecessors.
Big and clunky.
Yeah, and it sounds amazing.
Where do you see this technology going?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about where we see things
is the
going.
speaker going to be this big and give us the sound of a speaker this big?
It already does. You put them in your ears. It's amazing when you think about the computational power of the earbud these gentlemen in the front row have been working on. When you put those in your ear, you think about the power of the math and the computation that is happening, not from your phone, but actually in that earbud. It's remarkable, right? So those tiny earbuds are creating an incredibly spacious and immersive sound for you, right? Bringing the music to life. They're actively canceling all of the noise around you, which is a pretty complex algorithm. And our newest earbuds do that uniquely for your ear. So they actually measure the shape of your ear. True statement. Ears are like fingerprints. Your ear is uniquely shaped, and sound cares a lot about the shape of the space that it's in. And so we can tune both the noise cancellation and the acoustics, the sound performance, to your unique ear, both the left and the right, because your two ears are likely not the same either. Which is sort of an interest. So all of that stuff is already happening in this tiny little thing, which is pretty cool. There are a couple things we're really excited about that we spend a lot of time working on. We like this idea of contextual awareness. And so if you think about, we often talk about it internally as hearing what you want. But right now, wearable devices in particular require a lot of activity from you as the user as you go through your day or your life. And as all of us start wearing these devices for more hours and through many different activities, you don't want things, you don't want to have to be always on the controls. And so we're looking at things, you want your noise canceling on, but you might want to hear your kids. Or you're walking on a street and you have the noise canceling on, but you might want to hear a honk or a
siren.
Or a siren. right? But you don't want to hear a lot of other things. So how do we start to use machine learning and AI to help discern the noises you want to hear and those that you don't? So we think there's a lot of interesting things to be done there. There are a few aspects of that in our products already, but there's a pretty exciting roadmap of things ahead, we think, there. So I think that's interesting. We're very excited about spatial audio. So Dolby Atmos is probably something many of you have heard of. It's bringing height to your home theater system. It allows you to experience movie and TV entertainment in a different way. But really the concept of music creation is now starting to happen in a more three-dimensional way. So at one point we went to stereo, and then stereo became 5.1. But now the way that music is being recorded, it's in an object-based, digital object-based, and so it allows you to really create new experiences from a listening standpoint that you traditionally would only get in a really high-end theater system, but we're now able to start to bring those experiences into headphones and things of that nature. So this idea of spatial audio, you kind of might hear that buzzword around. We think there's just a lot of interesting applications going forward on that as well. And then noise canceling, we think there's a lot of great things there. I'll talk a little bit about automotive. So you tend to think of Bose as noise canceling headphones. Many of you have probably experienced those in your lifetime. But we're doing a lot of work now on noise cancellation for your car. And so as the world shifts to more electric vehicles, one of the things that you realize is once you take that combustion engine out of an electric vehicle, you realize how loud every single other thing is. The road is loud when you're driving on it. The rain is loud. The HVAC system in your car is loud. The wind is loud. There are all of these other noises that suddenly feel very offensive. So if you've ridden much in an EV, you will have had that experience where you're like, wow, this is not awesome. And so we're bringing noise canceling to the car. So helping to dampen things like road noise digitally versus the old-fashioned way, which is lots of foam and dampers and physical acoustic solutions that weigh down your electric vehicle and make it less efficient. We're trying to bring a lot of those solutions in from a digital standpoint. So we're excited about something that we call active sound management, how we help solve those acoustic problems, noise canceling problems in the car.
How does Bose compete against, and Bose is a big company, but how does it compete against some of these huge companies like Apple and the others, and who have a larger team, who have a lot of money to throw at product development and developing new technology?
So our competitive set is a illustrious list of all-stars. There's no doubt about it. The Apples and the Sonys and the Samsungs, Sonos. And so I think for us, the most important thing is really understanding who we are, right? So, and then focusing on the things that we're great at. So for us, sound and audio is all that we do. And that has to be a huge advantage, right? The majority of our competitors are doing many, many things, and they do them really well. Like, we have a ton of respect for our competitors, but they're making laptops and phones and tablets and movies, and they have ad networks, and they have streaming services, and they have a lot of different things that they're doing, right? And as I like to say, at Bose, sound is not an accessory. It is what we do. It's the only thing that we do. And that gives us a huge advantage because I think we obsess about sound and sound experiences in a way that's hard to do when you have a disparate focus like many of our competitors do. So I think that notion of really understanding who we are, having that intense focus on what we do is super important. And that allows us, if we're doing it well, to see into the future a little bit better, to predict trends a little bit better, and in some cases to resonate with consumers a little bit more, right? Because our products are made by people like our customers. Our customers love music. They love entertainment. It's a passion point for most of them. It is part of their identity. So part of the way that they identify and they would describe themselves is as a music lover in certain bands and certain genres, and they can tell you the song that was playing at every important moment in their life, right? Those are our people. And those are our employees, that's our team, right? The people who work at Bose tend to have exactly that same thing. That's why they work there. They're passionate about what we do. And I think that gives us an edge when we're thinking about experiences and bringing new experiences to our customers. So that's certainly an advantage. We're smaller, we should be more agile. We should be able to move faster. We should be able to outcompete on that front too, which is not always easy, but certainly one we're working on.
As a CEO, and I think a lot of us have been on a job interview, you hire.
I do.
What is your strength as a CEO, and what do you look for in the people who come before you for a job interview?
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time over the years trying to figure out what it is that I'm actually good at versus what I'd like to be good at, or what I might have been good at once, but it's probably not a trend. And and it's really important, right? So it's important because it allows me to then do the things that I'm actually really good at, but more importantly, it allows me to hire the people around me who are good at things that I am not, which is actually probably the most important lesson of how to build a team. So what I think I'm really good at, and my team might disagree, I think, so over the whole arc of my career, I am good at three things, really only three things. I'm a good problem solver. So, and I don't get to do as much of that now because I have a great team and they, do most of that, but nothing makes me happier than when someone comes to me and says, I'm really struggling with figuring this out, can we work on it together, can we talk it through? Like then that is my happy place, and I love that. So I contend that I continue to be a good problem solver, but don't get as much opportunity to do it in this role as maybe I have in my past. I love being part of a great team. Since I was at Miami, I had a great cheer team. I love being a part of a team. And over time, I've realized I'm actually pretty good at building a team, right? Motivating a team, attracting a team, understanding the strengths of the folks that I'm bringing onto the team or that are already on the team, and probably most importantly, getting that team to work like a team, right? Versus a group of individuals with their own priorities. And that is one of the things that I have gotten better at over time, and I think I'm pretty good at it, and I love doing it. There's nothing that makes me happier than building and being part of what I think is an amazing team. And that turns out to be a really important skill now in the job that I'm in, maybe more so than I even realized when I took it. My number one job and my number two job and my number three job is to make sure that we've got the right talent at Bose to deliver, because in the end, I don't really do anything, right? Like I'm one person, don't do that much, but if I can hire the right people who are crazy talented and get them to work together toward common goals, that's really powerful. So I'm pretty good at that, and I love doing that. And then the third thing that I've become good at over time is I'm really good at synthesizing information. So I'm good at saying, okay, I heard all of you, here's basically what you're saying. Right. And that turns out to be a helpful skill. So for me, like when I'm recruiting, I look for culture first, almost, right? Will this person fit in with the team? Do they have the same DNA? Do they, not do they have the same skills and are they all alike, but do they have humility? Do they truly care more about the common goal than their own? And will they listen more than they talk, and will they respect their colleagues? So I spend a lot of time on culture. And are they excited about that's one. The second thing is, are they excited about the mission that we're on? You can take the most talented person in the world, if they're not passionate about the work they're doing, they will do mediocre work, not because their talent is mediocre, but because it's just not that important to them. And so passion for the mission, and it's not the same for everyone, right? If I think about what we're doing at Bose and all of the different people that we've recruited to the organization, and frankly, the way we're motivating the folks who've been at Bose for a very long time is you have to be passionate about the mission in some way. It's either the connection to music and your passion for that, or it's the transformation that we're going through with many, many other companies as we adopt and learn about new technologies. But you have to be passionate about the mission. So I look for those two things almost first and foremost. And then I I really try to make sure that I've got diverse perspectives on the team. So does that person complement the others?
I'm making notes for long time. Finally, they're giving me a wrap, but what do you do in your time off? I know you spend a lot of time working, but what happens when it's a weekend?
We listen to a lot of music at my house, as you might imagine. We have 3 kids, and we have 1 in college, 1 in high school, 1 in middle school. And so we spend a lot of time chasing them around. I mean, I think the reality is when you have kids of a certain age that your life is consumed, and that may be true from birth until they're all out of the house. And so they've all been into sports, and so we do a lot of weekends at sports tournaments and games, and that's where my husband is tonight. My 7th grader happened to win his playoff basketball game on Sunday, and so the semifinal game is tonight. So they're starting the game in 3 minutes. Yeah.
You'll get the text updates. Maybe an audio update, too.
Exactly. You never know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I think we have a few minutes if you want to take some questions from the audience.
Sure. Okay. Hi.
Hey, so you talked a lot about when you were more kind of hands-on and the nitty-gritty of the engineering side of things. You love problem solving in that way. Do you apply those same types of problem solving efforts as CEO, managing much higher level problems and issues?
Yeah, it's a great question. The answer is definitely yes, right? Conceptually, it's the same. You have to break it down into parts that you understand. You have to kind of try to solve each of the parts, and you eventually have to try to put it all back together again. And I think that sort of logical way of structuring it and thinking through it is a big piece of it. And I think there's a perseverance to engineering that you learn, certainly as an engineering student, right? Like it's not easy. You sort of have to persevere to get through it. And I think there's just a relentlessness and a perseverance and a grittiness about problem solving that you learn, or at least I felt like I learned as an engineering student and a younger engineer, where you just don't give up, right? Like you fail, like you get it wrong, it doesn't work, it's not doing what it's supposed to. The math said it would do this, and the reality is it's doing something totally different. But all of that is learning opportunity, and I think that part of the problem solving, I still use that all the time. Yeah.
This is maybe a bit niche, but for someone who's considering mastering out of the PhD program, how much do you think having a PhD served you in getting to where you are today?
Yeah, it's funny. I've gotten this question a lot over the years because it's weird, right? I did a PhD and then I went to McKinsey, and people are like, you didn't need to do that if you wanted to go to McKinsey. Look, I think that the PhD is like one of the greatest learning experiences I had in my life. And for a bunch of reasons, right? You're surrounded by just incredibly curious, smart, amazing people. It's the only time in my life that, and I've said like at least a dozen times, I feel like that I love being on a team. It is the one accomplishment in my entire life that I actually did by myself, right? that doctoral thesis has my name on it, and I'm really proud of that, right? And it was hard, and I learned I don't like to work alone. That was part of the journey. But that's part of what I learned. And so I think if you think about it as, should I do it because I'll get a better or different job, you're gonna get a great job no matter what. But to me, it was about personal learning and growth. And I for sure would not have said that when I was sitting where you're sitting now and trying to make the decision. But looking back on it now, I got a lot of personal growth and learning out of it. It's challenging. I learned grittiness for sure while I was doing it. And so for me, like I wouldn't go back and do it differently if I had a chance. I've never used anything in my doctoral thesis or my research in my professional life. 0 things. Like 0 of the, real things, the functional things, the actual knowledge. I know a lot of things about something that is irrelevant, but what I developed skills, I learned about myself, I developed as a professional, and I wouldn't go back and do it any differently. Yeah.
As someone going from engineering to business, what would you say was your most difficult challenge going into a more business-oriented role from a technical background?
So I think maybe the hardest thing and the most helpful thing is you have to get over yourself and acknowledge that you don't know everything. And in the beginning, I didn't know anything. And so in some ways, that was my greatest strength because I was very I had to get comfortable asking dumb questions, and I had to get comfortable admitting that I didn't know how to do things. And you build up skills in an area, and when you make a pivot like that, you feel like you feel like you should know more. And if you pretend to know more, you actually don't learn what you need to know. And so in some ways, my greatest strength on those early teams when I was at McKinsey was I just saw the problem totally differently. I'll give you a really silly example. I got asked in my first year, in my first engagement at McKinsey, the manager said that I needed to build a pricing model. And I was like, oh my God, because if you're an engineer, model means something very specific and very grand. And then it took me a while to figure out that they meant an Excel sheet with like some numbers on it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. And luckily I asked 5 more questions because I was about ready to go off and like computer program a pretty complicated thing. And what we really needed was an Excel spreadsheet with some back of the envelope like calculations on it. And so, it's things like that, right? You have to, for me, it was listening a lot, asking a lot of questions, and not taking yourself too seriously, right? Like it's okay. Yeah, I have a PhD. I don't know what this means, right? But that's okay. I know all this other stuff that is irrelevant, but I know it.
I was wondering if you could touch on your experience being an engineer in Boston, where there's a technology hub here, there's an engineering hub here, and how you kind of hone that talent, and how your engineering background has helped you with that.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I'm not I was never a real professional engineer. I have a lot of engineering degrees, but I've never really had a real engineering job. But I hire a lot of engineers, and we have a ton of engineers at Bose. And Boston's a great, vibrant community for engineering. It really has. It has been for a very long time, and I think we're lucky to be here. We recruit a lot out of the schools that are here, but we also, there are a lot of people who grew up here, went to college somewhere else, but want to come back. And so there's a lot of great engineering talent here that, we have a very large engineering team out in Framingham where we're headquartered, and it's a great talent pool.
All right, what'd you guys think?
Okay.
All right, so we are going to thank our speaker. If I can grab these. A small token of appreciation.
I already got my pin.
For both
Very
of
excited.
you.
Oh.
Thank you, Alex
Thank you.
and Lila.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
I think we all really appreciated all of the wonderful stories that you shared with us of your trajectory. And Alex, thank you for helping us bring these stories to life through Lila. So thank you for that.